What's going on, everybody? Just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate y'all being here and vibing with me for a bit. Today I want to talk a little bit about the concept of split energy and how you can really start using what you're not to focus more and more so on, for one, feeling good in the now, and moving forward, expanding on that, and feeling more and more connectedness, more and more love, less and less of what you don't want manifesting in your space, and kind of how you should start going about doing that. And so looking at everything that's going on in your immediate environment, your life situation, your circumstances, your relationships, all of these things are symbolic and representative of what you believe yourself to be, the stories that we tell ourselves. And sometimes, if you've gone down a kind of a, I want to say darker path, but kind of a path of a lot of limiting beliefs that have manifested, a lot of fear, a lot of baggage and bricks and bullshit from the old man. We start letting go of these things that start to kind of hit our consciousness in the moment. It's like, because the reality is, God's already given you everything. You are blessed right now. You and God are connected. This idea of being separate, a separate ego, is an illusion. And on all of these layers of programs and scripts that we tell ourselves, after a while, as you grow into maybe adulthood, it's almost like, and this is something I've experienced and seen with my own eyes, and it is almost like people start to become more and more machine-like, in the way that the box that they've built, for themselves in their life is basically trying to keep themselves safe from this danger that they feel from being a separate ego. It's like you build your own little prison to keep yourself safe, and you start just running these automatic scripts from the past, these traumas that happened from the old man, and you're trying to, put out these little fires to keep yourself in this little safe box, so it doesn't happen again, so you don't feel, and sometimes, the trauma that could have happened was maybe, if you really like step far enough back from it, maybe 5 minutes, 2 minutes of ordeal, some physical experience or whatever that came to you, or maybe longer, but sometimes we just carry that with us for weeks and months, and we just don't let it go, and then it becomes part of our identity as like, we got this, maybe an example from my life, something I'm kind of working on letting go more and more so each day is like the pain body, the idea that through suffering and pain and you almost build this identity of like being tough, or by being able to endure it, these different stories that almost makes it like a badge of honor. Reassessing all these types of things that have kind of been part of an identity, and at this point, then choosing, does that feel good? Does that resonate in the heart with the true inner being, the truth that's inside? Jesus is inside of you. And Jesus is the truth. So it's like, as you start to feel good, almost like look at that as aligning to the truth. It's like following the way of the heart more and more so, but at the same time, not looking at these situations from the old man, as being just something to resist and battle and fight against, because in doing that, then you strengthen an illusion that's not real. A lot of the new is just putting down the old and embracing a new paradigm of reality of the new man, and with that new man having new thoughts and a new vision for a future that is filled with hope and joy and peace, because the future is heaven. And so the more and more we snap out of the old man kind of paradigm, we start to get into alignment with the new, and with the new, starting to at first, connect with these good feeling thoughts, these abundant thoughts, prosperous thoughts, healthy thoughts, loving, really, ultimately. It's getting more into alignment with that, and you start to see how these thoughts, and sometimes the situations that have already manifested, you feel it in the heart immediately, whether the thought constricts and feels like a fear reaction thought, basically showing you what you're not, maybe past, that's confronting you now in the moment, And in every one of these situations, instead of sitting there battling with I just got maybe exposed to a thought of something I'm not. Maybe you just all of a sudden had a violent thought, or you wanted to attack something or destroy it, just obliterate that from your consciousness. It's like, you know how these things start to manifest individually inside of you. But you can feel it as a drain, as a sensation, as an emotion, energy and motion type vibe, and even when it comes to the new, setting this higher ideal, and that's why, stewarding, to me at least, is an important concept, because when you really look at maybe the amount of money you have, the relationships you have, maybe if you're married, single, those types of, all of these are I don't know, maybe I don't know, how do you describe that? They're just different aspects of the same thing. Really your inner kind of state of consciousness being expressed through these different, maybe relationships, through your job, through your health, your body, all these, your sex life, your how you have power, perceived power, if it's just these all these kind of things that can become triggers. It's as you look out, and sometimes it can cause like envy, jealousy, grief, all these types of stuff from the old man that feels like, that's possible for them, but not for me. These kind of limiting ideas and stuff like that. But looking more and more so as they're all just reflective of your faith, and moving in this new direction. Expansion is part of our nature. It's like as you become more and more still, as you kind of let go of these thoughts that may be coming in that are causing you grief or pain, or ultimately expressing what you're not. If you stop battling with them and you stop resisting them, focus on your breathing, which gets you out of your mind and into the present moment, your natural state of consciousness, when you're not basically piling bags of bricks from the old man, naturally floats like a cork in water. So as you become more and more present into the right now, which is all we have, it's a constant really battle to stay at rest. But then at the same time, when these distractions or these situations that show you what you're not, that you feel internally as like maybe a fear thought, or you feel that constricting nature of it, it's just basically showing you what you're not. But then the thing of that is that then it clarifies more and more so what you do desire. Without that brief, think of it like a faucet. It's like, if you're cold and you want to come warm your hands up, and you turn the cold water on and you stick your hands underneath there, then immediately you're maybe imagining, your mind goes, oh, no, it's too cold, I want it to be hot. And so then you start to shift more naturally into, I'll just turn the hot water on instead because this is too cold. So it's like what you're not presents. But where in the past you almost get stuck in this illusion of, well, it's just always going to be like that. It's just always going to be just worst case scenario. I got to protect myself from this existential threat. The people, I got to hoard things for myself and take care of little old me just because everybody's out to get me. You just start getting more and more into, okay, well, that's kind of just not helpful, for one. For two, it's like putting me in a negative state of consciousness. But for three, then I was like, well, obviously then what feels good? And it's like I want to start expanding on that of what I do want. It's like, well, I want to see more people happy. I want to see more people just experiencing life and enjoying it and living abundantly. And instead of hearing people bitch about their problems, I want to hear people excited about what they're building and what kind of future they're creating, and that kind of a vibe. Get out of I'm so tired of hearing the victim mentality, even internally and externally. It's just you are not a victim. That's who you're not. You're a deliberate creator when you really are in the new man. But like looking at everything more deliberately, and not splitting your energy about it. And so with splitting your energy, maybe a Bible reference, would be like being double-minded. but kind of to expand on some of these concepts more when it comes to stewarding, realize that everything going on in your life is a reflection, and so to change the reflection, the old man would, just kind of well, I'm going to wrestle it to the ground. I'm going to, on my own steam, my own just little physical ego, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to till the fields, and I'm going to, through effort and force, make it happen. And on some level, that there's some validity to that. My personal old man, through music was able to do that. Where just you put your nose to the ground and you just work, and sacrifice and grind, and then you hit these milestones, and then it's like, well, never good enough, and so you keep spinning on the rat race mentality. But it don't have to be. It's like, so getting into the new man, it's like, well, what is that trying to achieve? These milestones, these these carrots on the outside, the reflective state, it really kind of boils down to an ideal that you're holding embodiment, right now. It's like, well, in my consciousness, where I was, feeling fear, scarcity, or whatever, whatever type of old story is kind of limiting, causing resistance to the new vision, letting that dissolve, and getting more and more into a state of I just want to feel good now, because so much of this external shit that we're doing, is like, well, if I just had the dream job and the dream house and the dream relationship and the dream this, then I could be happy. And it's like, well, you can be happy now. That's a state of consciousness of who you actually are when you are not in the state of who you aren't, the old man. This is living in this like a automaton, or a robot, basically. What do you call it? An automaton, just going through the motions, not really knowing why, and you're being led, by some ideal outside of yourself that really doesn't. It's really kind of more of like an insanity loop. It is really kind of showing you who you're not. But the more that you kind of develop who you're not, the more your vision for who you are concretes more and more. And this all is happening now. I mean, this is not something that, I'm going to plot and scheme, how we're going to do this. But it's like, you look around, look what's already manifested in your life as a reflection of your state of consciousness. Anything more when you're in theory land, and that can almost be a stumbling block where you start to listen to a lot of people outside of you, and there's like a season for everything, so it's like, it's good to like start filling your consciousness with a mental diet where people are feeding your soul, with empowering thoughts and beliefs and planting these seeds. But know, that God is within you, and God's the one that waters that within, and feeling good is who you are. It's if you're not feeling good, just ask, start making the choice, realizing that you're not is the first critical step to becoming conscious, because you realize what you're not, which opens the door to making a new choice now to feel that goodness, that good energy. So as you start to expand on that, realize that, all of these, if I just had more people that just, like this YouTube channel, so, if I just had more subscribers, then I could be happy. If I just had more views, then I could be happy. If I could just have more clicks and more influence and more this and that, and then I could be happy. And it's like, what is that ideal then, that you're achieving, you're trying to achieve through a reflection. It's like, reversing the order. The old man wants to look in a mirror and expect the image in the mirror to make the change. And shifting into the new man is realizing that as you be the ideal first, as you be happy, as you be thankful, that starts to open the door to more and more of that becoming what you're experiencing in the now as you plant those seeds. There's a cyclical nature when you start to really become more present and more still, and you're stewarding what you have, and expanding that vision is normal and natural, because you're the cork that floats up. You're always expanding, but adding more layers of complexity. Money's a really good example of that. This is just something from my own experience, being in scarcity and the old man, pushing it away, and having all these beliefs and these programs about what I thought oh, it just comes out of nothing. It's just invented, and then there's this whole story that we tell ourselves, and everything else, and then like pushing it away, and then ultimately evolving that belief. Now all of a sudden, more and more abundance is being brought into my experience, and get more to kind of steward and kind of take care of, start spending it more, and being able to patron, different businesses that I like to support, friends' businesses I like to support, and buying food that has a story attached to it, where it's like putting love into the process of making it, really focusing more on value activities, and supporting those types of businesses that really promote a lot of value, which it in spiritual kind of outlook, the more value, the more love, the more you receive in return for that service. It's like the more love you put out, since we're all connected, the more love comes back. So it's like the more that you're focusing on the value of helping others, loving, putting out loving energy, and it just comes back. It's all natural. It's all part of this ebb and flow. But until you are more and more confident in kind of the spiritual nature of how things are reflecting these states of consciousness within, as you believe God provides you with this is God's abundance, God's your provider. You start seeing that through experience as you really to put it into practice. With my handyman business, putting it into practice over and over. I've been basically kind of like self-employed entrepreneurial since my middle 20s, so it's almost been a decade of not being part of the I guess normal flow that a lot of people maybe resonate with. I don't really kind of vibe in that space because it's not been my experience. My experience has been more of like creating and seeing how God provides. So it's like so much of this is taking yourself out of the equation. The old man would want to, I'm going to market. I'm just going to just get on that email list, and I'm just going to put some put the whatever. Kind of the way the handyman business is flowed is all word of mouth. It's just like I think it's been 4 years I've been doing now, 4 or 5. And I think music I've been doing for 10 or so. And it's just like at this point, it's so obvious to me that God provides the customers, that it's like the synchronicity in the houses when people will call, the duration of calls. It's it's just beyond anything. Beyond any doubt. It's just like a knowing that that's just how it is, but it's like on the path to realize that there's these you can almost look at it as these walls of resistance. So it's like where in the past there was like resistance towards abundance and like success. Well then still in the stewarding, still in the learning process, still kind of exploring. It's like, okay, well now it's almost like the floodgates are open, and now it's like a bunch of abundance is coming in. Well then the scarcity mindset might creep in. Basically all the bag of beliefs from the old man, that are things are scarce, and their loss is real, and all these types of things that no, we're not, basically. But then then there's the idea of loss that starts to creep in. So we're in one state of scarcity. There's not enough. Then on the other end of that same swing, and this is part of like getting out of like the split energy, is the idea of loss. It's like, oh, well, what happens if I got thousands of dollars in the bank? What if the bank freezes my account, and then I got to then I lose it all, or whatever, something like that. It's that same kind of fear, but in that fear is the solution. It's like, well, that just shows you what you didn't want to happen. You didn't want to now all of a sudden lose it all, or have some sort of hiccup with that. It just showed you an example again on who you're not. So now you can start to evolve that state of maybe knowing, that state of awareness, where it's like, okay, well that fear, that resistant thought just manifested, just, it happens spiritually first. So it's like maybe now you got a couple $1,000s in the bank, maybe you got millions of bucks in the bank. It's all relative, but like it's all relative to consciousness, but like just as an example, you see that and you feel that fear from the old man creep in. Well, the split energy is now you're wrestling with that thought. It's like it's coming in, it's coming out. It's like you're kind of in this limbo stage where it keeps kind of coming in, but you almost haven't developed the answer to get beyond that resistance. Ask Jesus, ask God within you to show you how to let go of that resistance, because realizing that your desire to have abundance or prosperity or whatever is directly related to your state of being, and really connected to your vision of the future. It's like how much can you help humanity if you're able to just like that maybe support somebody, get them up off the maybe they're in a state of consciousness that has a tremendous amount of suffering, and you can be instrumental in helping to change that. It's like part of the double-mindedness is then instead of seeing any of that as being a possibility, you're focused on money's the root of all evil, and you can't love God and mammon, and so you're pushing it away. Because you're defining yourself, you're defining yourself as good, because you're saying what you're not, so well, I'm not evil, so I'm not going to, so you start defining yourself that way. But even those concepts, are stories of the old man, so it's like, well, you're new and Jesus lives inside of you, you're connected with God, and your vision of love is divinely planted in you, so it's like, start focusing more on, what feels good, being in alignment with that new vision, and that's something you can feel now. It's like you can feel that abundance now as you stop splitting your energy and between, who you are and the resistance to that, getting to that end point. So it's like who you are is on the other side of the resistance because you're looking into a mirror. So as soon as you let go of that resistance, who you are will start to be shown to you in the physical, in the manifested. But it happens spiritually first. So as you become more and more consciously aware of what you're stewarding, everything that you're desiring is on the other side of the resistance. So what you have now, you have everything you need to start feeling good now. And once you start to feel good and you start getting out of that split energy, that double-mindedness, and you're focused more on the kingdom of God and ultimately God's righteousness, within you, working on that relationship, that dynamic of the new creation that you are, and everything around you is new. So every one of these old beliefs from the old man is past. So you're living in the past with these scarcity beliefs, with these old man beliefs, all of which are a process of letting go and in realizing what you desire is ultimately in accord with what God desires for you, what love desires, what creative kind of intelligent design has for you, and realizing everything is doesn't involve you or in your effort and your work. It's a gift already given to you. You don't have to keep striving and just getting into that receiving mode. God's already blessed you. God takes pleasure in prospering you. Realize that all you can really do is push away the abundance God's already given you, the health that God's already given. All these things is a process of letting go and allowing it to unfold now in the present moment. And kind of the shift is when you go, does this feel good? Does this resonate with the truth of my inner being? And that inner being is that connectedness with God, and realizing that, everything is already manifested from seeds of the past. And you have these corresponding thoughts of the past that just you start thinking the same things, you start doing the same things, you start living in a Groundhog Day where you're just doing the same shit every single day, thinking about the same shit, experiencing the same shit. When, the vision, comes from God, and the vision has the means to produce the result. So it's like you can be, do, or have anything. God said He's already given these things. God's already created it. A big part of the new man is just to align to that, stand in faith now. During maybe the periods of resistance to drop the beliefs and everything from the old, and wait for the new to just start to unfold in your now. Start really looking at things like that, as a unfolding least resistance now. So it's like whatever's bothering you, whatever maybe is triggering you, whatever maybe your body's doing, look at all of that as a teacher for right now to ultimately that's the current resistance. That's what's holding the cork down. It's and not to just sit there and judge it and try to obliterate what you're not, but use what you're not, use that energy that is being split to really focus more and more so on what you do desire, because ultimately you are love, you are not fear. So the old man, the errors that come from the fear that is created by you. You created the fear, and you created the stories that you're telling yourselves that in many ways are not even real or true. You can start to choose to tell yourself new things, that are true for you through your knowingness now, and a lot of that has to do with, learning how to use this inner guidance system that God's already given you to know that's true. For one, how it makes you feel in your own heart and soul, but then with that is the seeds that get planted, start to manifest in what you're walking in now. So instead of, sitting there and just hating everything that's already been manifested and your reaping of consciousness that you're dealing with, just realize that you can make a new choice. And the easiest way to start to do that is when you're presented with what you're not, who you aren't anymore, the old man. It helps you to define and really narrow your focus on what you do desire. And then and realize that having the desire, that seed, that as you plant that in your consciousness is an already done deal. So you are already that ideal, because that ideal corresponds to love and a creation that is already finished, that it exists already in. That as you stand in faith, let go of that resistance, and that belief will then all of a sudden, feeling good, it'll start to unfold physically. And so really moving more and more out of like theory land, listening to the opinions of others, including me. It's like I'm encouraging you to really start to bring more goodness into your life now, and really start to walk into your vision, the new you, and the new you's, reflection of abundance, prosperity, health, love, joy, peace, all the fruits of the Spirit manifesting in circumstances, people, situations, more and more so each day. Basically a heaven on earth for you is what my intent is in doing this, is to bring that more and more into manifestation, not only for others, but also in my own experience, because as you teach, you learn, because we're all connected. And so, I just wanted to bring that to you guys as awareness to really help feel good now, watch the unfolding of, the salvation of the Lord, basically, realize that everything that you're doing is perfect. You're perfectly in line with what's going on. You're perfectly in tune in the exact flow that you need to be in. That God's in control of the flow of this awakening process. It's like if you really need a broad, sometimes you need a broad vision to get you moving in the right stream. Stop looking back at the old man. And there's a what is that Bible story? Lot's wife, when they're leaving, I think Sodom and Gomorrah, when it was getting ready to be destroyed. A lot of these things you can look at as states of consciousness, but it's like the old man, the old state, the old city that you dwelled in, that old dwelling, that place. when you're moving forward in the new man, stop looking back at the old and breathing life into this old state. It's just like let it be in the past, and watch the new start to emerge as you're focused on the present moment with a vision of hope for the future that's unfolding now. It's already happened. It's a done deal. It's like everything that's coming to you is who you actually are. This love, this joy, this peace, these uplifting and inspiring situations. It's all being orchestrated, drawn to you perfectly right now. You can't mess it up. You can't fucking do the wrong thing. You just repeat these same cycles of consciousness until it clicks, basically, but like helping to move that direction, where instead of sitting there, being stuck in these holding patterns of like split energy, where it's like you just can't make a decision. It's like, well, you're sitting there kind of looking at your situation. Sometimes I feel like I've been in a holding pattern for years, where it's like, well, it's not, this ain't bad. It's like I'm really, not really growing, not really expanding, but not really declining either. And nothing wrong with that. But then it almost gets to come to a point where it's like, well, I'm really believing this, I really know this to be real and true. And so it's like, well, I want to demonstrate that more, for the benefit of a lot of times for others, so that they can go, oh, wow, there's something tangible to what that person's saying, and and hopefully that helps then to build some faith so that others can take that knowledge and expand it even more. That becomes, part of like the garden of God, I'd say, for like, showing a process and having, it's almost like with guitar, it's funny when you start playing like maybe music from like the 50s or 60s or 70s, totally different kind of flow to 80s, 90s, to, and the way you record keeps growing and expanding. And, it's like you hear something like, I don't know, maybe like a 10-year-old's doing on guitar. It's like, shit, that's something. You listen to everything from the 60s and 70s and nobody was at that level. And it's like you had like a 10-year-old just tapping and shred because they seen it and their vision grew as a result of seeing it. And that's kind of what we're all doing for each other is pushing each other of what's possible, and all things are possible. So it's like just having that courage to explore that, hopefully leads the way for others to take that information and grow their vision. As we all start moving in this vision of heaven on earth, it's the new awakening. And that's kind of the broad brush of like, well, the old man was asleep and all these things are kind of resulting of being unconscious, the suffering that's associated with that. It's like moving and well, everything's happening right now in this moment for my purposes of awakening. And that's a really good way to, if you're stuck in a lot of these downward spirals of energy of what you're not, and it feels hopeless, or and you keep hitting these thoughts and it's like, what the fuck is wrong with me? It's like there's nothing wrong with you. It's just part of that old nature is to attract those types of thoughts of what you're not. And part of the old nature is not realizing you can do something about it. But now now hearing that, now you know that that you can make the choice. You can choose to feel good, and as you choose to feel that right now, realize you are already good. That good is your nature. When you're not just lost in thoughts and fears and everything, when you be still, connect with your breathing, you start to feel that goodness inside you start to multiply. It's the same thing, and it's like getting more and more into that flow, physically demonstrating it in the manifested by realizing that we're constantly reaping and sowing from the past. It doesn't just fade away into linear nothingness. It constantly loops back, that you confront yourself in the past. And when you're confronted with what you're not, realize that this is the time to shift out of that split energy and create a new vision for the future from the past that you're not. It'll help you define that now. And so I wanted to bring that to your attention, share that with you, and put it into practice. test it for yourself. But ultimately getting out of like theory land and putting everything more into practical experiential things now, this very moment. Feeling good is something you experience now, and this is the only time you feel it, because now is the only time that is real and exists. In the path least resistance is now. So whatever's being brought to you now, look at it as a blessing that it is to evolve to higher and higher states of love and joy and peace and goodness, and having that reflecting into your life. And so with that being said, I like to wrap these things up with a quote-unquote random Bible verse. Nothing's random. God's 100% in control of literally everything and speaks to us in the moment. I just want to give God a chance to speak to you, who's ever listening now. Let's see what God's got to say. Matthew 10:28, and fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. There you go. And with that being said, I appreciate you guys liking, sharing, subscribing, all the social networking stuff. And hold on, there we go. And all the social networking things. I appreciate your support, in the spiritual and in the physical. I appreciate I just appreciate you guys' attention. And with that being said, I think I'm gonna bounce. So until the next now, God bless.